What's up guys, it's Eric from Eric Candy and welcome back to another entry into our Rogue Rumble series where we take a look at some overlooked or underutilized cards and we try to make some rogue decks out of them. So Shining Legends is out, which gave us a new card called Venusaur, which has definitely been receiving a little bit of talk here and there. And a lot of people have been talking about pairing it with the new Shining Genesect, which I do want to cover on the channel at some point as well. But we decided to take this a little bit of a different direction since I think that's what most people are kind of gravitating towards. We want to try to see if there's any other potential partners for Venusaur, and we think we may have found one that might have some use, and that is going to be Mega Beedrill EX, kind of one of the long lost and forgotten Mega Pokemon that never really saw too much play. So let's take a look at it and see what it's all about. So we are playing a 3-3 Mega Beedrill line. It's going to be our main attacker here. So we're looking at Mega Beedrill, 200 hit points, a little on the low end for a Mega Pokemon or like a Stage 1 EX GX type of thing. But it does have free retreat, which is actually really nice. But we are really just mainly looking at for this attack called Hazard Stinger. For 2 grass energy, you discard all energy attached to this Pokemon. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed and poisoned. Put 4 damage counters instead of 1 in between turns. So this card's been around for quite some time and it just hasn't seen much play because you have to discard all of your energy every time you attack, which means you're forced to have, you know, in the past, before rotation, you had to have an energy attachment and a Mega Turbo for turn if you wanted to attack with this thing every turn, which is very, very difficult to actually do for every turn of the game. So I think as a result, Mega Beedrill is always just a little too clunky to ever really see a lot of play. But if you can fulfill the attack cost of this attack, it's actually pretty good. You know, taking 4 between every turn and paralyzing and poisoning your opponent, that's actually pretty solid. You know, we do have things like Guzma to worry about, but especially in a format now without Versus Seeker, to reuse Guzmas and Ace Rolls as much as possible, this attack definitely has gained a little bit of value since rotation. So, you know, what's changed? Why are we talking about Mega Beedrill EX now? And that is because Venusaur came out from Shining Legends. So Venusaur has this ability, Jungle Totem. Each basic grass energy attached to your Pokemon provides 2 grass energy instead, and you can't apply more than 1 Jungle Totem at the same time, meaning you can't make this ability stack and make 1 grass energy, you know, provide something like 4 energy or something crazy like that. So they're all just going to be 2 energy at a time. So that's really nice because that means all we have to do is attach 1 grass energy every turn to our Mega Beedrill X in order to use its attack. So that's kind of the synergy between the 2 cards. And also is worth mentioning the regular Beedrill EX does have an attack called Double Scrapper. Discard up to 2 tool cards attached to your opponent's Pokemon. So before we got Field Blower, some decks actually used to run this as a way to get rid of tool cards. That tells you how desperate we were if you weren't playing back then. But actually can be a relevant attack against certain matchups like Garbodor. Also good to get rid of Float Stones against other non-Garbodor decks as well. So just want to point that out. And Pin Missile can be decent at some times for a grass and a colorless, or just 1 grass if you have Venusaur in play. Flip 4 coins does 40 times the amount of heads. So the attacks on Beedrill EX are still kind of relevant in certain situations too. So we're also playing 1 Oranguru for that Instruct ability. Once during your turn before you attack, you may draw until you have 3 cards in hand. So a lot of the times you won't really be able to use this attack, but there are going to be a lot of times where you really have to dig a little bit, maybe to dig for like a rare candy or something to get out Venusaur, or especially in the late game, you know, if you use a Hazardous Stinger, discard your energy, and get End into maybe like 1 or 2 cards, you're going to need a way to ensure that you have an energy for the next turn. So I always like Oranguru in these decks that really get punished hard by a late game End, and this is definitely one of those decks. So playing this guy also does have an attack, Psychic, 60 plus 20 more for each energy on your opponent's active Pokemon. So it doesn't come into play too much, but you do have the option at least. And then we have Tapu Lele GX, of course, 3 copies for that Wonder Tag ability. And also Energy Drive is pretty good since we have Venusaur as well. Just 1 grass energy provides 2, which means we can actually, you know, power up Tapu Lele pretty quickly if need be as well, and maybe clean up some knockouts with it. That's all of the Pokemon line. Going on to our training cards, a lot of the supporters will look pretty standard. You know, the standard format doesn't have a ton of variety right now for different supporters. So a lot of this will look very straightforward. 3 Guzma, 4N for Sycamore. We are playing 1 copy of Skyla. Search our deck for our trainer card, reveal it, and put it into our hand. So this is going to be mainly to grab maybe like a rare candy to get into Venusaur, or maybe like a Beedrill Spirit Link or something like that. We also run Max Potion in the list, so that could also be a decent target. So, you know, we play rare candy anyway, so I figured at least 1 copy of Skyla might be pretty decent here. And the last supporter card is going to be 1 Pokemon Fan Club, and you might be thinking, well, why aren't you playing Bridget? You know, every deck plays Bridget as it's like, you know, early game supporter to set up lots of Pokemon, but the problem with Bridget is that you can only get 3 non-EX basics or just 1 basic EX, so that kind of creates a little bit of a problem for us since we want to get out at least 1 Beedrill and 1 Bulbasaur on turn 1, at least. So that's why we are opting for the Pokemon Fan Club instead, since you get any 2 basic Pokemon, doesn't matter if they're an EX, GX, or anything else. So as long as they're basic, we can get them. So, you know, I definitely like Bridget better, but hey, it's our only option, I think. Going on, you know, for Ultra Ball, pretty standard. We are also playing 1 copy of Nest Ball. Search your deck for a basic Pokemon, put it onto your bench. So since we aren't running Bridget and we can only get 2 Pokemon with Fan Club, I felt like 1 Nest Ball would be a pretty good inclusion, just to ensure we can, you know, always have enough Bulbasaurs in play early on, or enough Beedrills and stuff like that. So 1 Nest Ball definitely seems like a decent little inclusion to make up for the, I guess, the weaker draw power that you would get from Fan Club. For rare candy, of course. That way we can get into Venusaur as quick as possible. Let's skip Ivysaur, go straight to Venusaur, hopefully on turn 2. So even though we're only playing 3 Venusaur, I still want to max out rare candy just to ensure that we can hit this on turn 2 if possible. For some recovery, we are playing 1 Rescue Stretcher. So we get a Pokemon from our discard pile and put it into our hand, or we get to shuffle 3 from our discard back into our deck. So you guys are probably plenty familiar with this, but we are also playing 1 copy of Super Rod. So it's another form of recovery, but I wanted the 1 Super Rod just because we are discarding our energy every turn. We want to be able to get some energy back. So Super Rod definitely seems good as opposed to a second Rescue Stretcher, just for that reason. So an odd card in the list is going to be 2 copies of Max Potion. Heal all damage from one of your Pokemon. If you do, discard all energy from that Pokemon. So you guys can probably already see the synergy that we're going to be going for here. You know, we discard our energy with our Mega Beedrill, so if our opponent does Guzma out of the lock and swings on us or something like that, we can just Max Potion all of that damage off and kind of tank hits with our Mega Beedrills a little bit. Also good, just in general, I've always liked Max Potion in 1 energy attacking decks, and this is definitely one of those decks. You know, even with Tapu Lele, we're attacking just for a single grass attachment if we choose to. So Max Potion, you know, we can, you know, heal all the damage off, attach another energy, and keep attacking if need be. And then 2 copies of Field Blower, definitely going to be a good card because if our opponent gets out the Garbotox and Garbodor in those types of matchups, that we could be in some trouble, so we definitely want to be able to deal with that. Also good, just get rid of things like Float Stones in case our opponent wants to Guzma into, you know, like a free retreating target. We want to make getting out of the lock as awkward and cumbersome as possible for our opponent. And the last trainer cards we have, of course, 3 Beedrill Spirit Link. Just to allow us to evolve into our Mega Beedrills without our turn ending. And fun little story too, I was trading for Beedrills and Mega Beedrills online, and I was so excited because there were like no one trading for these. I had to like trade an arm and a leg to get play sets of these, and then I was so excited then I realized I didn't have Spirit Links. I had to trade like, I think it was like 16 packs to get 2 Spirit Links to finish getting a play set. So I had to go through a lot of packs in order to make this video happen for you guys. So hope it was worth it. So Beedrill Spirit Link, of course, and then our last trainer card is going to be 3 copies of Float Stone just to give free retreat, ideally to our Venusaurs, just because they do have a monstrous 4 retreat cost, but just good for everything else as well. And to round out the list, we have just 9 Grass Energy. We don't need to run a lot, even though we are discarding them every turn. We don't need a ton just because we only need 1 energy in play in order to make use of Mega Beedrill's attack, assuming we have Venusaur in play. So yeah guys, that's going to be our take on Mega Beedrill. Let's switch over to the battle portion of the video and we'll show you how this thing looks in action, okay? Alright guys, so it looks like we found ourselves a game here against Mellow Penguin, and we do it in the coin flips. That's definitely good. If we go first, we can maybe set up, a couple of Bulbasaurs or Beedrill, start setting up our board to ensure that we get our evolutions out in the next turn. And so yeah, let's just see what we're going to get here. Okay, we have a Tapu Lele start, which not the best, and honestly our hand is just not that great right now either. We will have an Ultra Ball, so we can bail out, this hand and get another Lele, assuming they're not prized, but this is definitely less than optimal. At least we're starting first. That will give us an extra turn to at least stabilize before our opponent gets much going on. So let's discard a Beedrill and a Grass Energy. We can always recover those back with Super Rod at some point if need be. So yeah, I guess we go for the Lele, and the big question is, what do we get here? We could go for a Pokemon Fan Club and just grab a Beedrill and a Bulbasaur, but that really wouldn't leave us much for the following turn, so I kind of like the idea of just going for an N. It's not ideal, but I think it's probably the best play. So yeah, let's just go with the N. And hopefully we can get at least a Beedrill or at least a Bulbasaur off of this. Alrighty, and we do get Bulbasaur. Okay, and actually this hand isn't too bad. Got some options, so we're definitely going to bench the Bulbasaur. And, so yeah, here's what I'm going to do. It's a little bit risky, but it could pay off for us. I'm going to Ultra Ball. I'm going to get rid of this Grass Energy and get rid of the N to grab ourselves a Beedrill EX. And here I'm just going to peek through the deck, see what else is in there. Okay, nothing too crucial prize. It looks like we might have an N prize, but beyond that I didn't see anything too, game breaking. So we're going to put Beedrill down, we're going to play Super Rod, get back those cards we discarded, and then we're going to use Instruct to draw until we have 3 cards. And nice, so we do hit a Professor Sycamore. That means we're going to be in an okay spot for next turn. So definitely a little bit of a risky play, but I definitely opted to want to get an energy back from Super Rod instead of an Orangers. That's why I discarded the N instead. Yeah, it looks like we're playing into some sort of Water Toolbox deck. Our opponent's benching a Lapras. I'm assuming that's what it is. I don't know what other decks really play Lapras GX at the moment. They're going to go for a Lele. And let's see. So we do have Professor Sycamore. So that tells me this is probably not some sort of setup-based deck that plays evolutions or anything. So yeah, my bet is on Water Toolbox at the moment. So let's see what our opponent is going to bench. They do have Max Elixir, so that pretty much I think just confirms it at this point. Lapras is actually a little bit scary for us because they can actually knock out our Beedrill EXs even without a Choice Band. So that is something I'm a little bit worried about. So we're definitely going to have to get Mega Beedrill out pretty soon. Discarding our hand, and okay, this is workable. We won't be able to start attacking this turn, but really I think we're in an okay spot for the following turn. So here, and we can also, and I forgot to Mega Evolve. Okay, oh yeah, sorry about that one, guys. A little bit of a scrubby misplay there. I remember I was actually on the phone for like the first 5 minutes of this game, so my mind was a little bit distracted, but hopefully that does not come back to bite us. As long as this Lapras doesn't knock out our Beedrill, we can Mega Evolve next turn. That's definitely a bad misplay since we do have to enter an entire turn to evolve since we don't have the Spirit Link right now. But hopefully we don't get punished for it, and our opponent is going to use Plumeria, getting rid of our Grass Energy, so not too happy about that. And honestly, it's not really a card I feel like you see too often in this type of deck. But so what do? We could play the N and try to go for like a Beedrill, Spirit Link, and a Venusaur, but I think we should just take the turn to Mega Ball because we might not even draw into Beedrill again. And we've already been punished for missing a turn to evolve once, so let's see what our opponent's going to opt to do. And honestly, I'm not in a hurry to really attack either, since I really don't want to waste energy discarding it to just attack an Oranguru. It's a 1-prize attacker, so the good thing about it though is it would get knocked out going back into our turn, but it's still just 1 prize. I don't really care about it too much, so I'd rather just take 6 prizes as opposed to 7 is basically what I'm getting at. So let's see what our opponent is going to opt to do here. They're going to play Ninja Boy. Interesting. So, okay, they're going to grab a Glaceon EX. That is slightly annoying. So we're going to see a Crystal Ray come down, do 70 damage to this Tapu Lele. That means our evolutions cannot actually do damage to Glaceon. We can still inflict status conditions though, so I'm really not too worried about it. But let's play this Max Potion, I think, heal off that Lele, and here we can just end and hopefully get a Venusaur and some energy. That's really what we need this turn. Okay, so I think we actually got it because we did discard a Venusaur early on with Sycamore on our second turn. Yeah, so it is in the discard. That means we are going to be in a fine spot here. So let's do that. We'll grab the Venusaur. And the question is, do we attack with Lele or Beedrill? That is the question here. I might opt to go for Beedrill. Even though we can't do damage to it, Glaceon's Crystal Ray does not prevent effects of attacks. So that means we can still paralyze it. And I'm cool with that because if we did attack with Lele and our opponent had like a Aqua Patch, Attachment, Choice Band, they could have actually knocked out our Lele. So it's a little bit of a more defensive play on my end, but it might pay off. So let's see. Because if we can buy a turn where they can't use Crystal Ray, we can actually start doing damage from our attacks to this Glaceon instead. Okay, we're going to see another Lele. Our opponent plays 2 Oranger. That is definitely not something I'm used to seeing. And I'm okay with that because that means they can't play something like a Manaphy on the bench to give them free retreat, so I'm completely cool with that. But they do have the Guzma, which is very, very annoying. So we'll have to see what they end up doing. They don't have another attacker set up right now, so they might just have to collect with this Lapras. Well, are they even going to play? Okay, they are going to play the Guzma, bring up our Venusaur, but not a big deal. We had that Float Stone, was holding on to it just in case we did have to attach it to something to retreat. So we're going to be in a good spot for next turn. We just need an energy. Hey, that's a good top deck. We will take that. So I'll put the Float Stone down on Venusaur, and we will... well, do we instruct? I'm going to say no. I don't want to draw into like another evolution or something. So here we can get down a Beedrill Spirit Link, evolve into another Mega Beedrill in case our other one goes down. Here we can retreat, put up this Mega Beedrill, use Hazard Stinger, and yeah, I don't think we do anything else. So let's do that. We'll do 80 base damage and then 120 after the poison damage kicks in as well. So we're definitely in a good spot here. And okay, so let's see what our opponent is going to opt to do here. They have a Field Blower, slightly annoying. Not what I want to see. So I think we have 1 Float Stone left in the deck, if I'm not mistaken. So that last one is going to be a very precious resource to it. And here our opponent has a Sorola. Come on, man. Why can't you just play a Sycamore or an N or something like that instead? So, okay, definitely not the spot I want to be in. And we've already discarded, I think, 3 energy at this point. I'm not sure if I want to keep doing that or not. What do we do though? We could attack with Lele, or we could go for a Hazard Stinger. So yeah, let's switch up. Our opponents had like an answer to our Hazard Stingers every time, so we could go for the energy drive here. But I don't know, maybe the Hazard Stinger would have been the better play since you know, it would have forced our opponent to have another Guzma, and it'd be unlikely they would have that. So maybe that would have been the play, guys. I'm not sure. So let's try the Lele option and see how that goes. So our opponent's gonna have an Aqua Patch. Okay, that's not what I like to see either. An attachment for turn, so they are gonna bring up this Lapras and Ice Beam GX. So a little bit annoying here. What do we top deck? We have a Skyla, but I don't know if there's anything that we really can get out of this lot. So here we can grab a Sycamore. That would actually be our last draw supporter in the deck. We do still have some energy left, which is definitely pretty important. Okay, so I mean, we couldn't do that much this turn being paralyzed, so I really don't mind, you know, just skyling for the, you know, for the Sycamore in this case. So let's see what our opponent is going to opt to do. I would imagine we'll probably see something like a Blizzard Burn this turn. or maybe even a Crystal Ray if our opponent was able to bring back up Glaceon. That would be a decent play as well, knocking out our Tapu Lele and preventing damage from evolutions. I think that could be a decent play, but they would have to discard a good bit of energy to pull something like that off. So we're going to see a Blizzard Burn, and the other thing I'm starting to get a little bit concerned about is we don't actually have a second Venusaur in play, or a second Bulbasaur being, prepared to evolve. Okay, we topped that Guzma, not what I want to see. Unfortunately, we will have to discard that. We'll get rid of the Spirit Link and the Rare Candy. So we'll grab a Bulbasaur, not really a supporter we want to grab with Lele or anything. So let's start working on another Venusaur, just because Blizzard Burn actually can knock out a Venusaur in one hit. So we want to take that option away from them if possible. So I'll play Field Lore, getting rid of our own Spirit Link. Why not, I guess. And we instruct. I feel like our chances of hitting an energy are decent, so I think we just Sycamore here. And okay, so we hit plenty of energy, and we actually have Rare Candy Venusaur, which is good if our opponent does ever decide to take out our Venusaur at some point. But, let's definitely attack with Beedrill since we hit Lapras for weakness. And so we'll do Hazard Stinger, do an 80, and then the Poison between turns will put it up to 120. Alrighty, so let's see what our opponent has to work with this turn. At some point they're going to run out of these Guzmas that they've been playing, so I'd imagine and they have, was that a third Guzma? Are you like, I feel like I'm getting trolled so hard in this game. So here we're going to see a Guzma retreat into Lapras, taking out this Venusaur. Definitely a good play from our opponent, knocking out basically our source of energy acceleration, but we do have another Venusaur ready to go in hand. Alrighty, and we have plenty of energy too, so we don't even really need any supporters to work with from here on out, I don't think. We can play this Fan Club. I might do that as well. We could play the Nest Ball just to thin it out of our deck. And here, what do we do? I mean, we definitely don't want to get anything, I don't think. We want to keep that bench spot open for Lele if we need it for some reason. So we're going to Fan Club. We can grab the Lele out of our deck. I think that's fine. We are starting to get a little low on cards, so we might leave the Beedrill in there. So what we do, we could, yeah, I think this is the right play. We'll just take a knockout with Lele. That way we don't have to discard our energy, and we'll still be able to get the knockout. Okay, so we're going to get an N and an energy off the prizes. Pretty decent prizes. All of our energy are pretty important in this matchup. But yeah, now I'm actually thinking that we're in a pretty good spot. Even if our opponent does manage to use Crystal Ray, we can still just knock it out with a Tapu Lele pretty easily. So I'm liking our chances right now. Even though our opponent is technically ahead on prizes, I think we definitely have the better board position. And with the two Orangers that they have in play kind of like clunking up their field, I think it's going to be hard for them to really do a lot of crazy stuff. But here they do have Lapras, okay. We're going to see an attachment for turn and a Sycamore. Alright, so yeah, they did have that Manaphy in hand. I'm sure they would have preferred that on the bench, but I'm completely fine with that card hitting the discard pile. You're going to see a Potown, so not really too relevant of a card at this point in the matchup, but okay, so we top deck a Guzma, so what do we do here? I think we know our opponent plays Acerola. I'm really curious how many copies of Acerola they play. So maybe we could bring up the Glaceon? Or I don't know, maybe we just Guzma up the Lapras. That's probably the safer play, I think, at this point in the game. That's going to be the real threat that we're facing. But here we're going to go for the Glaceon just in case. Our opponent plays a lot of crazy supporters in their deck, so I don't know how many they still have in their deck, if any at all. Here we're going to do Energy Drive, taking a knockout on this Glaceon. And basically our opponent still needs a Choice Band and an Energy to knock us out. So, our Lele might still survive anyways. And I think that was our last Guzma, so... Wait, was it? I'm not sure. But yeah, I wanted to make sure that we took out this Glaceon before our opponent did play an ace roll or something like that. Okay, so our opponent is going to promote Lapras. That's not a good sign for us. But even if they just do Blizzard Burn for 160, I'm completely okay with that at this point in the game. So let's see, our opponent's taking a second to decide what they want to do. So maybe that's a good sign for us. Maybe that means they don't actually have, you know, the Choice Band energy combo. Or, I mean, they could be slow rolling us, but that'd be kind of dirty. So they have the energy. Do they have the Choice Band? That's the other big piece of the puzzle that they need this turn. And they do have the Choice Band. Okay, so that definitely complicates things. And they have Delinquent. That's okay. Definitely interesting. We'll get rid of the Spirit Link, the N, and I guess the Floatstone? I guess? Yeah, because I think we actually do have one Guzma left in the deck, so if necessary, we can just get it with Lele anyways. So definitely an interesting water toolbox list. It has a lot of disruption in it, which is, you know, definitely catching us off guard a little bit. But, you know, I think we're in a good spot. I mean, we'll be able to paralyze this Lapras. Our opponent's gone through, I think, 3 Guzmas and an Acerola at this point. So, like I said, I'm feeling pretty good about, you know, the state of where we're at. You know, they do only need one more knockout, but I think it's very unlikely. They actually have what they need to, you know, complete the game here. So one thing I am worried about is maybe an end. So I am going to attach this energy a little preemptively to this other Beedrill, just in case our opponent ends us and we don't draw an energy off the end or the Oranguru that we have in play. We will still be able to be guaranteed an attack for next turn as well. Okay, so yeah, we can do Hazard Stinger. That will paralyze and poison this Lapras, and like I said, I think we're in a good spot at this point. Alright, so what does our opponent have? It's going to be a big turn. They either win this turn or we win, I'm pretty sure. You know, they have a pretty big hand. I'd imagine they would... Okay, they have Brooklet Hill. That's interesting. I don't know what they could get out that would really help them at this point. So I guess they're using it just to look through their deck and see what is still in there. We're going to see a Lele that doesn't feel good. Anytime your opponent drops a Lele in a situation like this, it's definitely a very anxious feeling. So please just get a draw supporter. That's all I want to see here. Or if they do have another Guzma in their deck somehow, they would still need another energy. Alright, so they do have Guzma, a 4th one at this point. Do they have the energy to go with that? That's going to be the big thing. If they have the energy, they will be able to just retreat whoever they promote and then just knock out whoever. So they're going to bring up Venusaur. I'd imagine we'll see a switch into a Oranguru, if I just had to guess. Oh, and they're actually putting up the other one, so they must not have the energy to retreat. So that means we can just play Tapu Lele, grabbing our last Guzma that is in the deck. Yep, so that is the very last one, which means we can just Guzma up this Lapras GX and deliver the final knockout. But here our opponent just concedes, seeing that we have the Guzma. So yeah, Mega Beedrill EX narrowly, you know, taking a victory against this weird water, you know, disruptive water toolbox deck. But yeah, guys, I hope you really enjoyed this look at Mega Beedrill and Venusaur. Definitely a more unorthodox way you could play Venusaur. I'm not sure how competitive this type of deck actually is, just because it requires you set up a stage 2 and basically a stage 1 that requires an item to evolve. So definitely can be a little bit clunky, but definitely a very fun deck at the same time. Definitely feel free to try it out and tell me what you guys think in the comments too. But as usual, feel free to like and subscribe, and a big shout out to all of our supporters over on patreon.com/rarecandytcg. If you want to join the Candy Crew over there and help support us, that would mean a lot to us as well. Or if you want to pick something up from our online store, rarecandytcg.com, that would also be greatly appreciated. But with that, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you for the next one.